Semion Mogilevich, often called the boss of bosses or the Brainy Don, is one of the most powerful and elusive figures in organized crime. Born in Ukraine in 1946, he became the most feared and influential Russian mafia boss, running a global empire involved in fraud, arms trafficking, money laundering, and political corruption. Mogilevich was born in Kiev, Ukraine, then part of the Soviet Union. Despite his involvement in crime from a young age, he was highly educated, earning a degree in economics from Lviv University. This financial knowledge would later help him build a criminal empire worth billions of dollars. In the 1970s and 1980s, he became involved with the Lyuboretskaya and Solntsevskaya Bratva, two powerful Russian mafia groups. His main criminal activities at the time included running fraud schemes targeting Jewish immigrants leaving the USSR, selling fake art and jewelry to unsuspecting buyers, establishing a money laundering network across the Soviet Union. By the late 1980s, Mogilevich had amassed millions of dollars and was already one of the most powerful figures in the Russian underworld. The fall of the Soviet Union in 1991 created chaos, allowing criminal organizations to take control of state assets. Mogilevich saw this as a golden opportunity and quickly expanded his empire into weapons trafficking, selling Soviet-era weapons to terrorist groups, oil and gas fraud, laundering money through the Russian energy sector, banking fraud, establishing fake companies to steal from Western investors. By the mid-1990s, Mogilevich had moved his operations to Hungary, setting up his base in Budapest. He created offshore bank accounts and shell companies to hide his criminal profits, using them to invest in legitimate businesses like hotels, nightclubs, and casinos. One of Mogilevich's most infamous crimes was his involvement in YBM Magnex, a fake American company he used to commit stock fraud worth over $150 million. YBM Magnex was publicly traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange and promoted as a high-tech magnet manufacturer. In reality, it was a front for money laundering and stock manipulation. When the FBI uncovered the fraud in 1998, investors lost millions and Mogilevich fled Europe. This scandal put him on the FBI's most wanted list, marking the first time Western law enforcement fully understood the scale of his operations. Despite being one of the world's most wanted criminals, Mogilevich managed to avoid arrest for decades. Many believe this was because he had deep connections to Russian intelligence agencies, KGB, later FSB. He allegedly helped the Russian government move illegal funds. Some reports suggest he had ties to Vladimir Putin and other high-ranking officials. His criminal empire operated with state protection, making it almost impossible for foreign governments to catch him. In January 2008, Russian authorities arrested Mogilevich in Moscow on tax fraud charges. However, many believe this was a staged arrest to protect him from international law enforcement. In 2009, he was quietly released. Russia refused to extradite him to the US or Europe. He continued operating his money laundering and fraud schemes from Moscow. Despite being wanted by the FBI, Interpol, and multiple European agencies, Mogilevich remains a free man in Russia. Some reports suggest that he still controls major financial crime networks, works as an advisor to Russian oligarchs and government officials, is involved in cybercrime and cryptocurrency fraud. In 2019, the FBI reaffirmed that Mogilevich remains one of the most dangerous criminals alive, but Russia refuses to extradite him. Semion Mogilevich is considered one of the most intelligent and untouchable mafia bosses in history. Unlike other gangsters who relied on violence, he used financial manipulation, political connections, and cybercrime to build an empire worth billions of dollars.